Good evening once again, folks, and welcome to Doctor on Call. Yes, indeed, we have another live program for you this evening, and with us, my very dear friend. I missed her so much. She's been on the lockdown. Doc, have you been on the lockdown?
I have been on lockdown for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. All right. Well, it's really good to have you. It's really good to have you at the program this week, and technology is wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. I just hope my dogs don't start barking, okay?
No, I don't think so. I think they're smart enough to understand that we're doing our program this evening, so they won't interfere. So, yeah. Folks, Dr. Sonia Nix is with us, and this evening we're talking about persons with chronic conditions and why is it they succumb easier to COVID-19 than persons who do not have these conditions. So, Doc, we are very familiar with some of these chronic conditions. We've spoken about them on numerous occasions. The hypertension, the diabetes, the kidney problems, all of that.
Respiratory problems. Those are the ones that we cannot. And then the other things like people with lupus and other things that are really not brought up, MS and other immune diseases that we tend not to remember that they do exist. They don't exist in as great quantities as in the case of hypertension and diabetes, which are kind of buzzwords for want of a better word. But they do, they're there, and those patients are at risk.
Yes, they are. So we can take a few of them individually. And let us see, I'll answer the questions. Why is it that persons who contract the coronavirus, why are these persons are more at risk or they run the risk of dying more than persons who do not have these underlying conditions?
Okay, so first of all, we kind of need to understand how this virus works. Okay?
Yes, indeed.
And we're... It's new. We keep hearing about this is new virus. It's really very new, seen in Wuhan in late December, and has spread across the world like a wind, like a breeze, just been everywhere. It's a virus, and a virus requires living organisms in order to survive. Okay, so wherever they come from, they need to get around the world and perpetuate by having a living organism.
Right.
These things, whether they're bacterial, would be able to survive in persons who are susceptible, persons who have an immune system that doesn't say, hey, here's a stranger, let's get at him.
Right.
Whose army that protects you from stuff is down. So in our case, hypertension, people with hypertension, long-standing, a lot of vascular problems, diabetes with its own challenges, people with cancers, especially people already taking what we call immunosuppressive drugs, taking chemotherapy and stuff that does really affect your immune system because you tend to like burn out everything, ablate it.
Yeah.
Right? So whether it's chemotherapy or radiotherapy, and of course people with respiratory illnesses. We know that virus, that little thing, and I was trying to explain to some people how the virus is shaped. So let's go up in the mountain and get one nutmeg with a pod closed, right? Take a machete and you cut through it straight across the mark, right? So when you look across it, you look at kind of similarly to what that coronavirus looks like. Corona, because it has this crown with all these spikes out, and those are the things that are going to attach to certain receptors, certain sites, certain on cells, and get to penetrate your body cells. Because if they match up, they go in, right? If your body doesn't identify early that this is something that doesn't need to be here, I'm going to fight it and keep it out, then it's going to penetrate. And once it gets into the cell, your cell is basically like a copy machine because it can't replicate on its own. It cannot multiply. It can't make more of itself, right? So your cell is like your cells, your body tissue is a copy machine. So it goes in there and it mimics whatever it has to do, and it gets into your cell and starts multiplying. When you have a large amount of those viruses in your body, they form an infection. And what they do is cause certain things to happen. the last thing that happens is a thing called a cytokine storm. So it might be okay, and a lot of us probably are well enough not to have the cytokine storm. We'll talk about that after. And the last thing happens, that is cytokine storm, right? These chemicals that attack all your organs, that's what causes death in our patients. So people who have chronic diseases, right? And people who are older. Remember that young people can have chronic disease as well, right? And they can have other diseases.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you're already just having a cold, a simple everyday cold. And then this virus comes and finds, see somebody I can get in here easily. And they get in. So these are the people in whom this virus takes advantage, goes and multiplies, and does what it does best. How does it get there? It gets there by droplets. I talk. If you don't see the droplets, there are droplets that everybody produces. I have a cough, I have it, and I cough. Those droplets get into the air, and somebody else breathes it in, right? So it makes sense, all the things we're hearing, what we should do. Social distancing, stay away from people, don't walk too close to them, right? They show that people who jog, if they have the virus, right, actually emit more viruses into the air because they're breathing heavier and stuff, right? So they might be healthy, they might not have any symptom, or what we call asymptomatic. They might not show any signs of having this thing. They don't feel no way, but this virus is in their bodies, right? So that's how it's going to get in. I breathe it in, right? Or whoever's going to be the next victim breathes it in. Or sometimes it can go through the membranes of your eyes or your nose. It just need to get somewhere where it can attach itself and move through. But what it likes most is your lung.
Okay.
And that is why we have the cough, that dry cough. We might start with a sore throat and we'll go down, lower down. But that's why we have this dry cough, because you get down there and you have almost like a bronchitis, and then it goes like a pneumonia. Now, usually when you get a pneumonia, if you get most of us get bacterial pneumonias, and we have antibacterial medication, we have antibiotics. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They can, in the case of a virus, you really don't have anything identifiable. We've heard about a million different things. We've heard of remdesivir. You heard about using the hydrochloroquine, they're joined together, azithromycin. And azithromycin is Zithromax, which works when you have a pneumonia. But it's because you probably have an added bacterial infection, right? You've heard a myriad of things, right? The truth is, we don't have anything yet that we know will attack, that will, stop this virus or will stop its effect, right? So that people don't die, right? And in those last few days of your life, when the craziness comes on, when all of those cytokines get released and you have multi-organ shutdown, that's how people die. And like I said, people in systems, they're the ones who die because they really don't have that ability.
Doc, you mentioned something that just got my attention. Pneumonia, right? From what you're saying, different organisms can cause pneumonia.
Yes.
I was of the impression that there's a specific bacteria that causes pneumonia.
No, there are different bacteria that cause pneumonia.
Okay.
They're very simple staph, simple strep. You can have pseudomonas. You have a whole lot of bacteria that can cause pneumonias. But you have, generally, for the most part, you have antibacterials that can work with them.
Okay.
Some are than others. In the case of viral pneumonia, you don't really have anything that can get in there and eliminate the virus yet.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting.
So it's not just a simple, like, I have a pneumonia, I can get it. The other thing is that the pneumonia, you have, if you can get a picture in your mind, you have your trachea, your windpipe, goes into the lungs, and it keeps getting smaller and smaller, right?
Yeah.
It's like a tree. And then you have branches, right? And then like how you have the leaves, those are little pockets, literally little balloons, little pockets.
The alveolus.
The alveoli, that's where that virus goes and makes a pneumonia into the functional lung tissue, right? Causes a lot of secretions, so you don't have exchange of oxygen. Okay? So some people's oxygen concentration goes very, very, very low, right? And that's why we thought if we use a ventilator, it will deliver oxygen to those, and it's really on the surface, because it's the furthest part of their lung. right? So that's where the need for the ventilators come in, because you have all the bronchial, not the bronchial tree, the alveolar, that part where you really need for exchange to be, is that you take a balloon and you fill it with water.
Yeah.
Right? So you have all of that secretion, so no air can go in and out, right? And as a result, people die because they need oxygen to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the Italian doctors speaking of patients literally drowning, which is what happens. Water gets into your lungs. But this is secretions that your body produces to try and defend itself from this thing that's in there that's causing some irritation. And there's just so much secretion and very little oxygen exchange.
Okay. So it's difficult for the body to actually get rid of all of that secretions in there.
I don't think we have enough respiratory therapists, right, who can take care of the persons, the amount of victims we've had. When you have 50,000 people with a disease in a city in a day, how you don't have 50,000 respiratory therapists? Try to imagine the amount of work you have to do.
Yeah. So someone, for example, with we started with hypertension. Someone with hypertension, who's, well, of course, the amount of blood going through your blood vessels, or for that matter, the walls are hardened, so it has lost its elasticity. How does that sort of help that virus to sort of take control of an individual?
Someone with hypertension already has a disease that's been there for a while. Mm-hmm. So they may have cardiovascular problem, and already you might have a little bit of heart failure. So there's already a little bit of fluid in the lungs. It doesn't expand and close as normal. But also, if you have hypertension, you have other breakdown of tissue going on. So it's not healthy tissue that can fight, right? Mm-hmm. A long-standing disease. So hypertension, not just the vessels, the entire body is affected in some way or the other. And especially when you have hypertension with complications of heart disease, right? Once the heart starts failing, you always have that residual amount of tissue. You have an organism that not even an organism, a thing, because a virus is not really anything. It doesn't have a nucleus. It can't replicate unless it gets into some.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's why they tell us, just leave it out there. Go stay in your house. Make the virus out there die. Okay? It's going to die at a certain time, because once it doesn't have any living organism in which to multiply and continue its life, and, because all of us have to have children so that our generations can perpetuate, right? So this virus uses this material. I was telling you how the nutmeg. So the farmer chops the nutmeg, perfect half. Uh-huh. So he has yellow part outside. What do you call that again?
The mace?
Not the mace, man, the pod.
Oh, the pod. Okay, all right. The outside, yes, that covering. Mm-hmm.
If you come from town, you don't even know what a nutmeg look like.
No, I know what a nutmeg look like. I just said that to see if you knew what a nutmeg look like.
Okay. But seriously, so that's you talk about that's a fatty shield that the coronavirus has.
Okay.
And then it has receptor cells out of it. And then the mace is that protein shield that makes it, that forms it. So fatty shield is, not all have a fatty shield. And then the hard shell is that capsule that holds the information. Okay. The nutmeg, which is the important part of the nutmeg. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is the nutmeg, the nut in the middle, which is the valuable part of the nutmeg, holds the DNA, the identifying features of that virus, right? And so when it goes in, you have the attachments on the yellow part that finds something. Oh, I can hang with you. Yeah. Gets in, penetrates the cell and goes in there. And eventually, once it sets itself up, you have multiplication. The material from the nut itself being released and making new viruses, right? And like I said, the multiplicity of viruses is what's going to cause it. So, right, and that's the best. So why you have to wash your hand in soap? Because soap breaks down fat, right?
Yes, it does.
And I want to say it from now. Somebody asked me the other day, if you drink rum, no, that's not going to work. It doesn't matter if you drink 100% proof rum. That's not going to kill a virus in your body.
But then, if you've been advised to use the hand sanitizer with about 70% alcohol. I mean, we have some good stuff that is 75% and 78% proof.
And
So if it's gonna work on the hand, why it wouldn't work?
Because by the time it gets dilute, your body's smart enough. Your body know it can't handle that.
Okay.
All right, your body's smart. Your body does not handle that level of alcohol. It breaks it down early, and alcohol gets broken down quickly. By the time it gets to the stomach, it goes straight to the liver and gets broken down.
Okay.
That's it has to be on the outside and that contact, right? So you wash your hands and really wash it. And good old soap works. I wash my hands with dishwashing liquid.
Yes.
Breaks it does so well on the grease in my plate. It must do better with the grease on my hand.
I agree. Now you we know that after some people they recover, right? But I've been listening to you carefully. The way that virus works, right? Instead of the lungs, it attaches itself and it starts to multiply. How then does someone recover? If, for example, we don't have the medication to get rid of it or to kill it or whatever it is, it continues to multiply inside there, but there are some persons who recover.
Yeah, because the immune system works. Because the immune system is your army that takes anything that comes in, right? So some people's immune system is sufficient, and then you may have earlier intervention, you may have earlier physiotherapy, but the truth is we don't know why our population not, mushrooming and having deaths and those dramatic stuff like we saw in China. And unfortunately, I think the experience, what we understood was so dramatic because the news media likes that.
Oh yes.
Right? Everybody wants to be able to give the
most exciting story.
Right? Because I haven't seen, and correct me because I don't have no TV, okay? Let's get it real. I don't watch TV at home. But I haven't heard of any of the major networks taking an hour or two to teach people mindfulness and how to cope and handling the grief, because a lot of families where 2 and 3 people died. I haven't seen them stop. Instead, it's just constant pressuring. And that is a challenge to our population, especially older people who, that's all they have. They sit and they watch TV and they get this plethora of information that all it does is confuse people and make them depressed and very anxious. So that's one of the challenges that I have with the media. Not sitting back and saying, let us empower people to be able to deal with this. Let us explain to them how this thing works and why it is. You can tell people put a mask on, but if you don't explain to them why you should wear a mask, right? I can put a mask on and put it on my forehead. I have a mask. I walk with a mask, right? And there's a way to put a mask on. There's a way to put a mask on. You put your mask on. If it has a rim, you cover your nose and you match it. You take it around, put it on your ear. You put it on and then you put it on your face, right? And you press it on. So you have very little air coming in that is not coming through the mask.
Right.
Okay? So you have to put your mask on when you're out there because you don't know. We know the study showing us that if you wear a mask, there's almost if you wear a mask in the presence of somebody who has COVID-19, right? You already had a 70% chance of blocking yourself from being infected.
Right.
If they wear a mask, it increases. If both of you wear a mask, I guess it increases a little more. So that is why we're asking people to wear a mask. And not just put a piece of cloth. Make sure it's at least double or triple. Because the virus is really tiny and they will get in there, right? So what you want to do is to diminish the amount of viruses that can get into your respiratory tract, because that's where this coronavirus, right? The SARS number 2. This is where that comes and and causes COVID-19. This is a susceptible area, the mucosa around the respiratory area.
Okay, indeed. Now, the diabetics. The high blood sugar in the system, the body not being able to deal with that high blood sugar, and we know diabetics they do have they go through some difficult periods.
Yeah, the diabetics have an even more weakened immune system, an even more weakened immune system generally than the
person with hypertension.
The other thing is that most diabetics also have hypertension.
Yes, indeed.
People with hypertension may not have diabetes, but most diabetics also have hypertension. So already you have somebody who's struggling, whose immune system is compromised. There's so much stresses that your body has to use on a daily basis from the high sugar, right? That you're there. And remember that usually these are people who are older, right? So let's say our parents, who will be adults, big people, okay, because we're not. Or you might have a grandmother who's in a nursing home or she's home. She doesn't really come out. Remember, you have to meet things out there to build up antibodies against them, right? An antibody is what results from your body's sending out its army. And then it leaves these soldiers to guard you. Okay?
Right.
So that's what is there and something happened, the antibodies come out and deal with it. That's how vaccines work. Okay? So your grandmother is home. She doesn't really go out. She hasn't been out for 10 years. So she hasn't met things just casually that, it's just a little bit and the body fixes it up. When this crazy, very virulent, I guess I just have to say crazy virus comes to her, she has almost no defense.
Okay.
Right? And that is why, look at Lombardy in Italy. That was a city with the people with the highest average age. Lombardy prided itself in its senior population, in its senior citizens population, and they were really badly affected. They probably had the worst of Italy because they had older people who just are among themselves and their families goes and come up, but they're not out there, they're not meeting a lot of stuff. And I'm sure most of them have, and I'm talking about old, like 90s, 80s.
Yes, yeah.
Older people with very compromised immune systems. So when that little crazy coronavirus comes, it just walks through them, right? And it became overwhelming. Italy didn't have the experience that we're having because we've seen other things and there are a lot of things you could put into place. And it was so fulminant. It was such like a big mushroom, just like a mushroom cloud. Just, it was very difficult for them. But it's because the population was older and most likely had a significant level of chronic disease. Like I said, the statistics are showing us that people in their 80s are the ones who die most.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was looking at some statistics, and it was saying that for a little over 45% of the persons who die were persons that had 3 underlying conditions, 3 additional conditions. Yeah.
3 chronic diseases.
Yes.
3 skin conditions. That is true. 1. People with 1, it was a small percentage, and then with 2. And in Italy, people had 3 or more.
Yes.
Yes. I want to say something because I know we all must be a little frustrated why you can't get it. Like I said, it's really new, and you have to have experience with disease. I remember when AIDS became a problem. I was an intern. And the first diagnosed AIDS case was on my ward in the whole country. Yeah. On my ward. And he had a cousin who was one of our residents. I was an intern, the resident supervised us. And that was the case. And we were at a wit's end. The world was at his wit's end. What the hell is this? And I remember asking that guy, what is your cousin? He said, he's a musician and he plays for the national music for either the national dance or the national ballet. So they travel a whole lot, right? And I said to him, where would he have gone and picked up some strange bug? And indeed it was a strange bug because it's after I died that the whole thing of HIV came. And I remember us doing a clinical conference. But we've had almost 30 years, right, of experience and understanding so that today, HIV/AIDS is considered a chronic disease. We don't get bent out of shape. There are probably 100 different medication combinations that you can use to control the HIV. As a matter of fact, this company is just getting this one medication that should be working. One. Yeah. And especially for patients who you can get, you can build resistance very quickly if you don't take the medications when you're an HIV patient, right? But there are just so many medications now. So I'm going to ask people to just bear with us as the scientists, the epidemiologists, look at what the pictures are like to kind of give us an idea, because we really don't know. We see manifestations in different countries, but what we know is that you get it from the air. And if you wear your barriers and if you do social distancing, we know. And if you wash your hands, do the hygiene things, right? Stay away from people, don't share spliff, don't share glass, don't share cup, don't share anything, okay? If we know that if you do that, the likelihood of you being infected by the virus is decreased. We're not saying you're not going to get it, but we say let's use the knowledge that we have.
Yes, indeed.
In order to survive.
Doc, let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll chat some more. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Classic FM, the radio station the decision makers connect to.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs. So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Carenage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Carenage, St. George's.
I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. Since 1983, they've been serving the country, and we like all their financing, giving the people what they want, what they need, what they love. Come and join the family that's here for you all the way, from birth to graduation, your first job to your home and your car through your golden years.
The GT Credit Union has been actively supporting nation building through its many sponsorships and the programs including Financial Literacy Quiz, Pass the Torch Calypso Program, Junior Cooperatives in Secondary Schools, CPEA, and the TAMCC Grants. The Credit Union has helped many people make their dreams come true. Let them help you with yours. You don't have to be a teacher to be a member. So what are you waiting for?
GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong.
Hills and Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sonatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and
Family with Western Union, we're moving money. No matter where you are, you will never fall.
Get money where you are, almost anywhere you are, send money over.
Move it for better.
Western Union, moving money for better.
Welcome back, folks. It's Dr. and Call, and Dr. Sonia Nixon is with us. And we're talking a little bit about persons with chronic conditions and why is it that they are more at risk of succumbing to the coronavirus. Doc, persons that have rheumatic diseases, what are their chances?
I guess just as bad as any other chronic disease, because people, especially rheumatic disease, and tends to affect your heart valves. And that can get you into heart failure because the heart is not able to pump the blood out. So people with rheumatic disease are considered one of those smaller groups with a chronic disease. You don't want to get any infection at all.
Okay.
That is why they get prophylactic antibiotics. But remember, you can't do antiviral prophylaxis. Prophylaxis that you do preventative. Okay?
Right. Of course, the big one, kidney problems.
Yeah, because patients who are on dialysis are often very, very ill. Everything about them is weakened, and usually it's because they've had very prolonged diabetes.
Uh-huh.
They have a lot of their blood vessels already in a terrible state. They may have heart disease accompanying them. They may be so ill that they actually need a new kidney. They may be so ill that they have to get dialysis, because dialysis is basically taking your blood, passing it through a machine, taking out the toxins because your kidney can't work. Right. So that's like a false kidney, right? Plus they take a lot of medication. So these are people who are really very ill and at risk for dying, should they be. And so I wanted to raise a point. We know, one of the things we know, or we think we know so far, right? Because in order to understand, you have to do a lot of testing. But in communities, a lot of testing. Like I think the people from Denmark or Norway, one of those two countries, tested everybody.
Really?
Yes. So we were imagining in the beginning that about 60% of the people, 60-65%, and that's kind of still the same thing that the World Health Organization says, there's 60-65% of people who actually have had the virus in their body who don't show illness. Those are asymptomatic people that carry the virus around, and that's probably how they give it to other people.
Right.
They're not coughing. They might, all of us feel tired once or twice a month. Okay, but I feel so tired today. I've been working hard. I've been studying. I've been doing all the housework. My children's sick. I haven't been sleeping in the night. There are a lot of reasons why, right? So you have these things. And they're usually the younger population who basically more or less kind of well, right? But they're the ones who take it to the grandmothers and the grandfathers. And that's why we ask them specifically to please be cautious. Go out there. They're out on the road. They're not limited. Some of them still work. But please wear a mask. And when you get home to those susceptible populations, you go home to your grandmother, or in our cases, all mothers. You get to your house, you take your shoe off outside, right? When you take your shoe off outside, you get inside, you take off your clothes, you put it in the garbage bag or something, and your clothes goes in there. And then it goes into the washing machine. If you're going to wash in hot, fine, but soapy water will do, because soap will kill the virus, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you're going to wash in a tub, make sure it's nice and soapy, you soak it and the tub, and it can get to the virus. And you walk to the shower and you wash. And preferably, if you can wash your hair, it'll be good. So you wash everything, right? Wash, right? Before you go, you don't sit on your bed, you don't sit on your chair, you don't eat your dinner, you do nothing like that. You come out of the road. Some people like to cool down. Yes, you can cool down, but you can't go and sit down everywhere, okay? And you go into the shower and you get a wash. You do the same with your children who go out, right? And you wear inside clothes. You don't share utensils and stuff if you can, unless, like share while you're eating, Can I get a sip in your drink? No, that doesn't happen. Okay? We cannot have to become a little singular, become a little selfish in order for us. But we have to be very careful that we who can go out there do not take this virus innocently to that population that is so vulnerable.
Right.
You have a risk. So people say, that can't catch me. That's okay. Probably won't kill you, but you probably going to go kill your grandmother and kill your auntie and kill your asthmatic sister and, your little child with that have heart disease and all the rest of it. And that is why we're asking everybody to please practice those behaviors. It becomes second nature. I get home and I get jittery. I don't know. I haven't been out very much, right? But when because I don't know there, right? I don't have anything out there. And, but I go to visit my mother a few times. And I said to her, look, I've been on the road. I'm not going to stay. I come to bring you something. Everything okay? Or I'll go and do some stuff that I've been trying to get done for her, but I have no physical contact. Hey, what's going on? Right? I have I said to her, look, I've been on the road. I'm not going to stay. That's how we have to do. Hey, everything's okay. And I know it seems that it's kind of extreme that the Ministry of Health has asked us not to talk to our neighbors over the fence. We can talk to her on the phone. Mm-hmm. you don't want that proximity as good as you and she are, right? That does leave a population that I'm very concerned about on the periphery, but I wanted to talk about that a little after. The people out there who have challenges, like the older people who live alone, and the people who need to go work because they do like a task every day, they do housekeeping and stuff. Those are things that we have to consider. How are we going to find that net to make sure that we're not creating people with more chronic illnesses, mental health, stress, and all the rest of it, because those are some of the outcomes that we have to consider, right? People having mental health problems, people home and they can't feed their children, people subjected to abuse. When you tell a man you have to go to a house at a woman that he really don't like, or vice versa, or you tell a kid you can't go out on the street and their house is 2 rooms and there's not much social distancing there, right? And there might be somebody in the house who really is compromised in some way. Okay, so there are a lot of layers on this onion that we have to take into consideration if we're going to try and solve and save our population, but save them to the point where everybody's sane. Because there are a lot of other things that are happening. Yeah,
yes, indeed. You mentioned just now, persons with asthma. And we know asthma by itself, it is dangerous. Someone who suffers from asthma and for some reason contracts the coronavirus.
Not cute. Because let me explain to you the mechanism of asthma. Asthma is a disease of severe allergy, basically, okay? I'm simplifying it here. And 3 things happen when you have an asthmatic attack. The first thing you have is that the airways, the bronchioles and stuff, constrict the muscle. So that's what Ventolin works for, right?
Right.
It's irrelaxing.
Okay.
Okay? And specifically those muscles in the airways. It relaxes some other muscles, but those in the airways certainly, right? Get them to relax. But the asthmatics already have the membrane. It's like the lining of your nostril, the wet part, the lining of the lung, kind of similar. That gets swollen. Not only does it get swollen, it also produces a lot of secretion. Right. So it means that those airways already
compromised.
They're already compromised. They're already accustomed to a lot of inflammatory challenges and stuff. So this for them is like getting a severe asthmatic attack that the medications don't work for. And already the membranes are susceptible to accepting and being penetrated by the virus, right? Because they say people who smoke, and I read an article a few days ago about people who smoke weed. As much wisdom as it gives you, it will also make you not be able to stay away from make you susceptible to getting coronavirus. So I tell you, do not smoke weed, because people who smoke cannabis, they do say that they have seen, and I guess as time goes by, we get better and more substantial results from focused, controlled studies. But those are observations that people who smoke weed. Then people who smoke weed tend to share spliff, and like I said in the beginning, when you pass it from your lip and I take it onto my lip and we spare the shit, or it on my hand, and I rub my eyes, rub my nose, or whatever it is, then I just took coronavirus from you. Okay? So the asthmatics already have a weakened lung system, their respiratory tract. Right. So corona comes around and says, oh, this one is cute, this one is nice, I'm getting in here. And drums them out. Because at least with the medications they normally take for the asthma, the brown pump, the steroid pump, controls the secretion, controls the swelling, right? Because you can use like a mucolytic, the one that makes you bring up the cold.
Right.
That breaks up the cold, right? You can use a mucolytic and get it. That doesn't happen that simply with corona. Okay. Especially since it's so much more severe than a simple asthmatic attack.
Okay. So it is so persons who are asthmatic, they have to be extremely careful.
So what I tell my relatives and my friends and the people I know who have asthma, taking my asthma medications to already make sure that your your lungs is at rest. It's not struggling. Use your inhaler. And a lot of people don't use their brown inhalers, but a brown inhaler is what you really should be using every day.
Right.
Controls the inflammation. So even if you come in contact with the things that trigger asthma, whether it's dust, pollen, pet dander, whatever it is, cockroach, urine in our environment is one of the worst things for triggering of our asthma. Whatever it is, if you have your brown inhaler, it controls the inflammation. So the membrane, the covering of the thing is not sick. You got me?
Right.
So you make sure. And there are other medications that actually stop you from having that allergic reaction, like Montelukast and stuff, right? But you have to make sure that your asthma is under good control. And I tell people, we tend to use the blue inhaler. That's not what you need every day. You need your brown inhaler. And your blue inhaler is what you call a rescue inhaler when you start to feel a little tight. But the brown inhaler stops the original inflammation and the secretions and stuff that you have.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting.
So let me talk about cancer. I want to talk about patients because, of course, cancer patients already by virtue, people are ill.
Yeah.
Okay? The immune system is struggling with whatever is going on, even if they're not on chemotherapy and stuff. But if they're on chemotherapy and stuff, it even gets a little worse, right? The challenge that people with cancer have, they might have to go to get the radiation therapy or the chemotherapy.
Chemotherapy, yeah.
Some chemo means a chemical drug.
Yes.
It means right? Luckily, there are people who just take pills. That is their chemo. But there are people who have to get theirs in their veins, right? You don't want them coming to hospital where all the corona people hanging out. You know, so it's a kind of difficult situation for people with cancers. And if you're in remission, you kind of really need to hold your corners, just stay quietly, just stay away, isolate yourself from your family as far as you can, right? Because already that immune system is bad. But for the people who have to get chemotherapy, sometimes because you have to deploy your staff to work with the coronavirus, there's nobody working those everyday maintenance areas, or simply because that the persons who need chemotherapy and radiation therapy have to go into a place where there is a greater likelihood that it will become infected by the virus, because that's where sick people go. Yeah, you're going to ask a question.
Right. No, I was going to ask you about there are some persons who have serious sinusitis problems. How does that compare to, well, of course, as it relates to the COVID-19, how is it compared to someone who probably has maybe lower respiratory problem?
I think the risk is similar because the virus has a propensity that's where it hang out. That's where it survive. It likes, so if a virus falls on your face, it's there. And unless it gets onto your mucous membranes, it's not going to do anything. Okay? Once it gets into that respiratory tissue, so if you have long-standing allergies, nasal allergies, sinus allergies, once it can get into their playground, right? Okay, it will eventually move down because that's the lung is where it goes and settles. Well, it takes over all of the tissue, and the lung is already caged in and has its compromises. So that's where the craziness, most of the severe activity occurs. Okay. So any upper respiratory tract, anything, you at greater risk of this thing penetrating of the virus penetrating your system.
All right. So, Doc, we'll take our final commercial break. When we come back, we can invite our audience to call if they have any questions, and we can move on. So we take our final break, folks, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs? So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Carenage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Carenage, St. George's.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, easy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
Hills and Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vic Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sonatrogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open, Hilton Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hilton Valley, your health is our business.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing.
Welcome back. It is 27 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock. It's Doctor in Call with Dr. Sonia Nixon. We are going to go to a telephone line right now. Doctor in Call, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a question for the doc. You see, I know someone who has this nose problem. Every time he eat, I drink, nose running. Is there anything that this person could do to avoid that? Stop that?
Thank you, caller. Doc?
So he says every time, person may just have an allergy, okay? It might just be something they eat that they like to eat that they're allergic to. And often, yes, if you're allergic, the first thing you do if you're allergic to something is to stop it, right? And there are medications that can help. So he probably needs to go see his doctor. And this is a good time, especially you don't want to be, in a situation where you have a predisposition to getting a virus that's so terrible, for want of a better word.
Okay, let's go back to a telephone. Doctor in Call, good evening. Let's go back to a telephone.
Good night.
Yes, can you listen to us on your telephone, please, caller?
Yes, yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I just want to find out from Dr. Sonia. I was asking a question sometime last week, and I'm not getting a proper answer, but I said, doctor is on call now. I say, it's a good time for me to ask her the question. Now, seeing that the COVID-19 is in the air, right? I'm wondering what could be transferred by the biting of the mosquitoes, because I realize you have a lot of mosquitoes now. Biting someone that is infected to another person?
Okay, thank you, caller.
So that's a good question. So that's what we call a zoonotic infection. As far as we know, COVID is not transferred by mosquitoes. So I wish some of those mosquitoes would get COVID and dead. That's the truth. And in dry season, and it's not the usual mosquito that causes dengue and stuff, because I haven't seen many of those long. You know, the black and white looking ones.
Yes, the silver with the silver streak, yeah.
That bite you. So as far as I know, and that's as far as you know. I hope that the call is listening, because like I said to her, they've spoken about just what I saw. The research this week said that it came from bats to pangolins to human beings, right? But that's what we're finding out. I don't know that we looked at mosquitoes, and I would not like to say yes or no, but as far as we know, no. As far as we know, maybe in 2025 we'll say yes, but today, April, what it is, 21st, the answer is no.
All right, let's get back to our telephone.
There's still other things that happen, because we tend to forget that there are other diseases that are there, right? There's still high blood pressure and diabetes and asthma and fits and babies being born and people breaking their foot and stuff. COVID is one more. It's not the only thing. It is one more thing. Yes, it's very acute. It's very fulminant. It's frightening, right? And we've had some really frightening knowledge. But I want people to just sit back. And I'm going to ask you, I turn on TV for 2 hours a day, especially CNN, and then that really have too much sensational news. Turn off the TV, read. Go on the internet and read. Go to the World Health Organization site.
Yes, indeed.
The site. And they tell you, go to Wikipedia, whatever you read that's easy. There's very simple information on COVID that does not come from a station that is really trying to make money, because the more people watch it, there is more people, and human beings like sensation. Right. So I'm going to ask TV at some stage in the day, or go watch, like I watch SpongeBob when I watch TV. I'm serious. Go watch. Doesn't really mean anything, but gives you relaxation, because that is also a major source of stress. Okay, so look at something else, get information, read. There's a lot of information out there. Go empower yourselves, because we are going to have to be empowered, because our lives are going to change after that. Right. Figure out what you're going to do for your life so that you can live after this. That you're not a broken, emotionally, physically person when life goes back, and we are going to have to make all those big changes.
Right. Let's try again. Okay, Dr. and Carl, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Citizen Augustine. Greetings, and greetings to you guys. Listen, I'm rather enthused. Every time I hear the citizen's voice, I feel good. You know how frankness, the genuineness, people like me see through the voices, and I can hear the honesty in Dr. Nixon's statements. Doctor, I would like to ask you one question first. It's a yes-no question, you see, because that will set the basis for my second and most important question. Do you, or have you, or let's use do you work with the government of Grenada in any way? Yes or no?
Until a couple of weeks ago, I was the senior medical officer for chronic diseases in the Ministry of Health.
So you do not work with them anymore?
I'm actually on leave currently.
Oh, you're on leave, which I mean you may be employed. You see, I wanted to ask this powerful question. Now, just like, what should we say? The United Nations, the World Health Organization has established ratios with certain things in relation to the population or percentage of the population. For instance, is there something established with the amount of nurses for a certain amount of the population, doctors for a certain amount of hospital beds, etc. Even in other aspects, policemen as related to certain among the policemen related now to the members certain percentage. Yeah. Now hear this. You ought to have heard of the confusion in the so-called international community. Mechanical ventilators. Mm-hmm. Is there any ratio established by World Health Organization as to the amount of mechanical ventilators under normal circumstances I refer to here, normal circumstances, outside of pandemic?
Well, I guess there is, and that would be based on what diseases you have in your country. You should have a certain amount of intensive care unit beds, and they should have each a ventilator. And that depends on your population, because your population and how the demographics according to illnesses go will demand what you need. Do you understand?
Yes, but is there a percentage, for instance, one ventilator per X amount of the population, whether it be...
Yes, and that will depend on what your need is based on what your research shows, how you use. Right, because remember, our population may have different needs from our population in the Caribbean may have different needs from our population in North America.
Indeed. Now, finally, and this is the powerful question: do you think that we are sufficiently equipped in this here Grenada with mechanical ventilators, just in case we have this pandemic, in our language, sweeping through this just in case, and God forbid? That's my question to you. Thank you very much.
My first answer is God forbid that we should have a sweeping pandemic. The pandemic sweeps through Grenada. And that's why we're asking people to take precaution and to act responsibly, right? Because everyone has to be responsible for themselves. And I think your question is very well poised. I don't know that any country, the big America, that's wealthiest country in the world, that claim they have the top health system, has not been able to cope. I mean, 50-something Grenadians alone have died. Can you imagine how many other country people have died? We see disparities that probably we would not see in our population, because we know, for example, in the U.S., that the people who are Black, Hispanics, poor, whatever it is, are the ones who have mostly died. But that is a historical thing as per access to health care. Right?
Yeah, it is.
Right, that's a historic thing. For the most part, I think our healthcare delivery is relatively equitable. Most people have equal access. But we saw in Italy where they had to let the older people die so that the younger people can live, which is a very hard choice. I saw a very impassioned cry by a Spanish physician having had a call from his friend who was in another city where they were just having a lot of people dying, that they had to sedate people to allow them to die because they just did not have the wherewithal. I would hope that should we have the need for ventilators, that we have enough. But not only that we have enough, that we have enough staff, because that's one of the things that the gentleman brought up, the caller brought up. We need to have enough people who are trained and ready to deal with that. Do we? I don't know. Again, I'm going to emphasize, let us prevent ourselves from getting to a point where we're going to need that. I understand that this gentleman might be a little older than I am, and I'm going to ask him to make sure that people who don't come to his house for the last year don't come. True, or you only trust the people you know. You don't have to go out, you don't go out. Do you understand? Protect yourself however you can. Young people think they're invincible. No, they're not, because they're the ones who will carry the virus around and give it to the people who are vulnerable and unsuspecting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get back to telephone. Doctor and call. Good evening. Hello.
Good night. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm not certain the question has been asked, right? I'm asthmatic, but I have not had any asthma attacks for the last 10 years, and I am not on any type of, let's say, Ventolin or Bicotide medication that's prescribed. Now, I've seen a lot of reports saying that asthmatics are at a higher risk. However, in my case, would that still mean I'm at a higher risk? Because I'm doing some research, I'm saying that in some cases they say persons tend to grow out, but so far it has been inconclusive. So in my instance, I still take the necessary precautions, but I just want to know in terms of, like, will I still be at the same level or risk as someone who has monthly attacks, seeing that I've only had an attack within probably more than 10 years ago?
Okay, thank you, sir. So here is it. I think your first strength is that you're very aware, because you said you've been doing everything to prevent your attacks, right? You have to understand, and most asthmatics tend not to, a lot of asthmatics tend not to, it does depend on their medications. It is very important that you identify what your trigger is and avoid it. Okay? The fact that you haven't had an asthmatic attack in 10 years means that I would expect your lung tissue to be a little more sane than the people who have regular attacks. But that does not mean that you don't protect yourself. Okay? That doesn't mean you don't protect yourself. Make sure that it doesn't happen with you, that you wear your mask, that you do all the hygiene methods. But I think your risk might be a little less than the person who's asthmatic, but maybe a little more than me, because your lung tissue responds in an exaggerated fashion when there is something that irritates it.
You know, Doc, that gives me an idea for to ask persons who are hypertensive, right? They are on medication. They take their medication, and as a result, they are in excellent control of their blood pressure. So the blood pressure does not go up. It is what it's supposed to be because that person is taking care. They're taking the medication. Would that also limit their risk as it relates to COVID?
Well, if they don't have complicated disease. If they don't have. But remember, these diseases affect affect your immune system and your whole body's general functioning. So you have to keep your pressure under control by taking your medication, but also be aware. Make sure that there's no complicated disease like cardiovascular disease, that you haven't had a heart attack, that you haven't had a stroke, and all of those things.
Right.
Where there are things that have to do with maintaining your immune system are concerned.
All right. Let's go back to...
Before we go, while we're on that, and talk about responsibility. You know, I remember us asking people to ensure that they have their medications or hypertensives, and that's one of the things I would like you to ensure. Your clinic, your health center, and the pharmacy should be provided with your medication. We had asked people in the beginning to make sure you have 3 months. Everybody doesn't have that kind of financial, nor does the clinic give you 3 months. Because you can probably get your medications outside in the pharmacy at a price. You can buy it. But just make sure you have your medications to take and don't run out. Don't wait until you run out. So in a few days before your medication, you go to your health center, you call your doctor, can you call the pharmacy, you send your grandchild, you understand? Just make sure that you do have your medication. And it has been the practice all over the world that people with chronic diseases ensure that they have a stock, because we don't know. We still don't have a port. Well, a port brings stuff in, but we don't have a normal supply chain. We're still trying to get that in place.
Right.
Things are not happening. There are people who get their medications from overseas, right? Because they've lived overseas, it comes from their pharmacy overseas. So we have to make sure, and there's some medications for diabetes and hypertension that actually are not available here in the pharmacy on a regular basis, and they may need it from overseas. So we've asked people. But don't just have the medication. Please, for goodness sake, please take it. I beg you.
Take your medication.
Please take your medication. Okay?
All right.
Because we have access to their drugs and access to other things like the dialysis, if they need to get it, and their chemo, whatever it is, their wound care and all of those things, so that they don't get an infection, which is going to put them in an even worse position for having to deal with something that seems as simple, but it can be as mortal as COVID-19.
Right. Let's get back to a telephone. Doctor on call, good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Good evening, caller. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We're hearing you. Go ahead.
I am calling to find out. If a migraine headache, what I should do.
Caller, we're not hearing you clearly. Can you speak up a little more? All right. The number 435-204. I couldn't understand what the caller was saying at all. Very muffled.
So I wanted to talk about 2 other quick points.
Yeah, sure.
Remember we talked about increasing knowledge. So this is a good time to remind yourself what your disease is all about.
Right.
And the things you have to do. I know we can't go outside and walk, and we can't walk on the road, but dance in your living room. Play clap hand games with your children and your grandchildren. Keep active. Watch your diet. Sadly, there are a lot of mitigating factors because people who don't work don't have as much money, especially if you're a 40-year-old woman with 5 children, you have high blood pressure, right? and you need to go, you come and wash my clothes today, you clean Mr. Augustine's house tomorrow. People who live like that, who hustle to live, who do formal jobs, right? Or jobs that will pay them. People who work fee for service. You don't go, your taxi, you can't go, they don't have any money, right? That's a special vulnerable population I'm particularly concerned about. And that we want to make sure that they have this. But guess what they're going to do? They're going to buy rice and flour and sugar and things that can spread, right?
Yeah.
And make and stuff, huh? And cook rice and a little bit of saltfish with a lot of gravy so it reach for the children. Or some jacks that they might get. Somebody might have some jacks in the fridge. Or they live every day, they buy tin of corned beef, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen is that the way people eat is going to change and put them at greater risk, right? So your diabetes might get out of control. Your pressure might go because the amount of salt in a tin of corned beef could cook a whole cow, all right? There's just salt. If you look to read the tin, unfortunately, the nutrition information on the corned beef tin is right where the corned beef key. Right? And and it's written so small anyway. So those are the things I'm concerned about, that people, because of the financial challenges, may not. We're going to have unemployment. We're going to have a lot of things that's going to determine how people don't eat right. I hear that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the fast food place go open. We go to our favorite place again and buy that fast food. Be careful. There's a lot of fat and salt, right? Just be very careful how you eat.
Yes, indeed.
And Bishop Clyde asking people in the first week, even before we had full shutdown 3 weeks ago, plant some food in the back of your house.
Yes, indeed. Well, actually, just before we started, we had our agricultural program, which we do every Tuesday night. And this is something that we encourage people. Plant something behind your house.
Yes. Plant something that you eat now and something you can eat later.
Yes.
Right? Plant something. Share potato slip, people. Give them a potato slip, a piece of yam head to plant. Give them a fig stool to put in behind the house. Flower garden kind of need to go out for a little while. It gives you joy, yes, but you're not going to fill your belly. I'm serious. If you live in a small space, you're going to have to prioritize, because it's going to be, I know it's dry season, but save your wash water, the water that you wash your dishes in, the water that you wash your clothes, and throw it in the yard, and throw it in the garden. Don't worry. Big hotels in other countries use that, what we call grey water, to water their plants and water their lawns, and they look fabulous. Mm-hmm. I'm really concerned. I want people to remember that you still need to eat correctly in order to stay well. Corona is not going to, it's here. It's here. We know that it is here. Okay? We've been blessed so far that we don't have people who've died or who've been very, very ill. But we can't guarantee it's going to go away. Are we going to have a vaccine soon? I would wish not, because I want a vaccine that is very specific. That's when I take it, I know that I will be protected against COVID-19 specifically, right? So guys, don't ask them to hurry up and make the vaccine. Just tell them to make a very good vaccine. It took over 100 years before the smallpox vaccine had spread enough, had been good enough to eradicate smallpox, believe it or not. All right? So a vaccine is not something you just go and you take 1 ounce of butter and 1 pound of sugar and it works that way. No. It takes time. It takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of experimentation. We're using human bodies, right? People who are volunteers to make sure that of immunity. It takes a lot of technology and a lot of money. So what do we have? We have the will to prevent it. Stay at your house, wash your hand, wear your mask, don't go palavering all over town. That is our vaccine. That's the only vaccine that we have that we can afford now. Okay? So I just want to remind people, you have to stick to what the Ministry of Health asks you to do. Right? I see people walking up and down and then say, hey, where's your mask, man? And don't just not one layer, double it up, triple it up, because the vaccine, the virus is very tiny, right? But don't think that you're going to, and when you go home, wash that bandana and put on the next one tomorrow. Okay, put it in soap water, wash it out properly, and put on a new one tomorrow. Okay, don't keep taking it on and off, right? And you don't push your hand inside it to take it off. If you have to move it, you move it from outside and you put it back on. All right. So those are the things that we want to do. All right. We want to promote just general good health.
Right.
Okay. And above all, I want us to preserve our mental health. The media has made us very anxious for the most part. They tell us we got dead like the Chinese people. Guess what? It's less than 4,000 people died in China. We thought it was the end of the world. How much people died in America? 10,000?
A while ago I was looking at the stats. A lot of people.
Over 10,000 people have died. And I know at least 4 people personally that I know who have died. And I'm only one citizen. Okay? And I know other people's relatives of other people who've died. Okay? And that's 3,500 miles away. We have to prevent that. We can't manage having people dying. But you don't necessarily have to die because you can prevent this. You can try your best to make it not happen to you. You can eat well. You can make sure you get enough rest. You can exercise inside of your house and keep active, especially our people with chronic disease. We have to try and avoid the stress, okay? I know people are worried about their jobs. They're worried about how they're going to pay their bills. And they're worried about a whole lot of things. They're worried about, and the older people are very worried about dying. Okay? We can't take death to them because they're inside. They're not going to look for it. So we need to preserve them. And we need to support them. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of older people who live alone, that today Sister Mary would go and clean the house and cook for them, and Brother John would pass by and bring a hand of banana and stuff. And because we've had lockdown, they can't do it. We can't forget them because especially people with dementia, we can't forget them and not go to, because they will feel abandoned and they will be stressed. Okay, so let's remember that population that's there, that there's a lot of anxiety. For parents, I don't know how parents who don't know how to read and write are going to teach their children at home. Okay, I don't know how parents who don't have internet are going to be able to follow up with schoolwork for their children. So there are a lot of stressors, and there's stressors especially on the most people are already being marginalized, being more marginalized. They need moral support. Call somebody. How are you doing? Do you have food for your children? I'm going to put a bag of food out on the gate post for you. Send a little boy, right? Pass to the back. I'm going to put something on the back on the fence for you. Or it's going to be on the stone by where the clothesline is. Send the child for it. Let's remember there are people out there who really need our help. Yeah. Call the old people in your community, in your church. We have a perfect church network. Almost everybody go to church and they know somebody go to church. Right? So even if I'm Catholic and you're Pentecostal, call me and make sure I'm okay. And I should call you. Ask your mother about you. Can I do this? How are you making? Right? Or ask somebody in your neighborhood to help you. We have this calls for us being in a state of oneness. We're talking also about the psychological, being mindful. Where am I? What is it I'm worrying about today? Well, I should be worrying about dying because I'm still alive. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't have food. How can I solve it? Just stop back a little. Turn the TV, please. Turn off the TV, turn off the radio. Just turn off everybody, right? And get into a place to understand where you are and how are you going to deal with all the stresses. I know everybody wait there. Minister is going to come on. Lord, somebody else have it. Listen to what Minister has to say. Why is he saying this today? Why is Dr. Mitchell saying this? Why are they saying this? What does this mean for me? How is this going to affect me? What am I required to do without stumbling all over myself? Sit back, listen to the information, and what do I need to do? And those of us who support, especially people with dementia, there are people in nursing homes that we can't go to visit, call. Let them hear your voice because they will grieve and they will become very ill. Okay? Call your grandchildren, call everybody, keep in touch with each other. Almost everybody has a phone in their house. It doesn't really matter. So let's keep in touch and let's support each other. Let's support each other because this is a very hard time.
It is.
I don't have the disadvantage that a lot of people have. I have my own car, I have my own money, I can get, and I worry about people who are out there. Are we reaching out to the people who need support, whose life is so stressful, who don't know that they're going to have a job? Kids who should be doing CPA, who'd be looking forward to graduating, college kids looking forward to graduating, and it's probably not going to happen. Is it going to be a fair test for them to get to high school? Would I get to the school I want? Right? Because I actually do exams well, and I would have gone to PVC as opposed to going to another school, right? I would have gone to convent as opposed to going to another school. Would it be fair to me? Our children are anxious. They're home. They have to get into a new level of
learning and all of that, yes.
No, but not of emotional comfort, right? Parents having difficulty, or children who may be being abused and neglected by their parents because their parents simply don't know how to handle
the situation. Yes,
there's a lot of challenge. So not just for that, we don't want to have at the end of this people who have a lot of mental health problems because it is there. There's so much uncertainty, right? We want to ensure that our people have that kind of support, and we all have to be each other's brothers as we not go.
Indeed. Let's take our final call, Doc. Doctor in call, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening. Godfrey?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I just want to find out from the doctor the difference between the brown and the blue inhaler.
And what?
Okay. For asthma patients, you mentioned the brown and the blue inhaler. The difference.
Okay. So, again, I'm going to tell you, asthma, you have spasm, shutting down of the muscle, right? Like a muscle cramp, so they tighten up of the airways. The blue inhaler acts on the muscles and relaxes that, right?
Yeah.
But remember, I tell you also have inflammation, swelling of the lining, and you have all the secretions. The brown inhaler controls the inflammation, and inflammation is almost always there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The spasm tends to happen when you have when you're going to get an attack. So the guidelines are that you really should be using your brown inhaler every day to control, so you don't have a more complicated or more severe allergic manifestation.
Okay. Wonderful indeed. It is 5 minutes under the hour of 10 o'clock, Doc. I mean, we've been having such a conversation. The time just...
Yeah, the best part is that I don't have to drive home tonight.
Yeah, lucky you. Normally we would be walking out together.
Miss that part.
Yeah. So we could just probably, just quickly do a quick summary of what we spoke about this evening, and leave a last reminder for our folks out there as it relates to what we are presently going through.
Okay, so the SARS virus has caused us to have a disease called COVID-19. Okay, we know that the virus is present because we found people in our community who have had some symptoms, albeit mild and maybe moderate, and we've had different tests, and we have different tests. Okay, so you might hear test negative and test positive. Some tests to tell you yes, you have the virus, yes, it's present, no, it's not present, right? And some tests tells you how much it is, or some test tells you what is the state of the virus's reproducing itself, okay? So they're different tests, but at the end of the day, they tell you whether or not you have had the virus, you've had contact. So we know we have it in our community. We know there are ways we can prevent it. Hygiene, hand washing, staying away from everybody, because we know that 65% of us are not going to have any symptoms, or we're not going to really show anything.
Right.
But we can pass it on to somebody else. We can infect someone else, even if we don't have overt symptoms. You might feel a little tired, you might have like a cough one day and it's gone, or not so much symptoms because it's mostly throat and chest, right? So we know that it's present, right? We know that if you cover your mouth with a decent mask that you wash every day or you dispose of, right? If you wash your hands with soap or you use alcohol-based, over 70% alcohol, right? Sanitizer completely, that you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. They say, sing happy birthday song twice, or somebody sang me a hymn today, I don't remember what it was. But no, first of a hymn and a chorus, you're good, right? Wash properly, dry with a clean paper towel and put it into the garbage. We know that when you get into your house, you need to prevent other people. So you leave your shoes outside and you do the bathing hygiene and stuff, right? If you feel unwell, you need to go to the doctor, right? You need to go to the doctor if you feel you have a fever, especially if you think you may have been in contact, because some of us have met people who have had it. We know that you should go to the doctor as soon as you can if you have any respiratory symptom, and you will be screened. I know there are probably 3,000 screening kits on the island, and I know that the Ministry of Health is very anxious to do as much screening as possible, so we can figure out just how much it has penetrated our community, if it does. We hope that doesn't happen. How is that going to happen? Not going to happen. You go to your yard, you follow curfew. And I'm not sorry for anybody that police pick up. I'm sorry, guys. Unless you have a real good reason for being out there. Stay in your house. Okay? Mm-hmm. Leave the friend a little. Just build your life on a different place. We know that there's no cure for COVID-19 currently. We know there's no vaccine currently. We know that you can get support therapy, like get oxygen. We know that ventilators are there if people have severe breathing problem. We know that we probably don't have enough. We know that we certainly don't have enough staff, enough people, right? Because if a lot of us get sick, the medical staff is really going to have a lot of challenges. We've seen medical staff die in other places because they've been overwhelmed with work. So let's preserve our medical staff for when we want to go back to something simple as Carnival that we're going to take 4 days out of our lives, not COVID. We know that the Ministry of Health is working to put things in place, and we're trying to follow. We're following the World Health Organization guidelines. And we know that this is very stressful. I beg you, please turn on the TV. Do something else. Sit and talk to your friends. Try and understand. And ask you to be mindful, to figure out where am I, what is happening to me, what are my chances. Understand. We know that people with chronic diseases, especially older people, some are independent, some are not. The people who really depend on us. So most of our older citizens really depend on their family to help them to get through this, or their neighbors or something. So let's not forget them. Make sure, if you have a chronic disease, please make sure that you take your medications.
Yes, indeed.
That you can prevent complicated states, especially, right? Because we are more prone. 6 years up. 6 years especially, because we see from that's when it starts to go up. Over 80, it's really not good news, all right? So we know we have to preserve each other. We know that we're all in this together and we have to work together. We still need to eat properly. Please avoid the fatty, the flour, and the what we call energy dense food, the flour and the sugar and the rice and stuff. And we have, get some green banana, get some yam, don't eat a lot, exercise, and be happy, breathe. This is a good time. This is a really good time for us to replan our lives. I don't know why God ordained it like this, but COVID-19 is true, and we are going to be true to ourselves and do what has to be done, right? And prevent it as best as we can.
Doc, I want to thank you so very much. It's always such a pleasure having you in my company.
I hope I've been of some information and help to the people tonight.
It's fantastic.
We have to conquer this. We have to make Grenada an example. And if the government requires to take back on the days, guys, don't get crazy, because it's what we have to do. We're going to have to do what we have to do.
Doc, I always felt that we could have hold a little bit still on the ease. I felt so, but life has to go on. But I trust that the government, the Royal Grenada Police Force, they are paying close attention to what is happening, and that they will act in a way that will serve our best interest. I think they, with the limited resources, they've been doing a fantastic job. So I really want to commend them again. My very good friend, the Minister of Health, has been working hard always in our faces, giving us information. Every night I travel the road from work, I meet the police officers, they're there, they're alert, ensuring that, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Hats off to them. The doctors, the nurses, the frontline workers, they've been really working hard, and I want to encourage them,
we need to preserve our medical staff, our caregiving staff.
Yes.
Nobody knows when this is really going to. We can draw breaks on this. So remember, they have other things. We always say COVID is +1 disease. Okay.
Yes.
A lot of our resources, human and material and time and everything, but only we as a nation can work together to contain, to stop this. Okay. So I'm asking people, bear patience. Forget there are a lot of conspiracy theories about radiation and all the rest. We're going to deal with that when we come to today. We have COVID. All right. Let's stop the scare tactics.
Yes, indeed.
Sit back and say, okay, what is this about? You don't understand it? Call somebody who works in the healthcare system.
Sure.
Read independent information. Go to reliable sources. Go to World Health Organization.
Oh yes.
CDC site, and the information is there. Go to the Ministry of Health Facebook page. Ask a question. Somebody will answer you. Okay.
Definitely.
call somebody and they will answer you. I don't answer questions if people ask me. So.
Sure indeed. So again, Doc, thank you so very much. And I look forward to having you next week. There's always so much to talk about, so much information to put out there to our people, you know. So I'm always very happy to be here with you, so we can, you know, share information so persons can be empowered and understand better what they need to do and what they should not be doing, you know.
And what they should. So anybody who's on the road needs to be at their house.
That's right.
Hurry.
So thanks again, Doc. Do have yourself a good evening. Enjoy the rest of the night, and we'll be talking soon again.
Yes,
all the best.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, that's our program for this evening. Thank you so very much for staying with us. And I'll be back with you tomorrow evening. Tomorrow is our Release It program, and always an exciting one. Lots of action and information. So be sure to join me for that. In the meantime, don't forget to protect yourselves, all right? Washing of the hands, covering of the face, and of course, keep your tail inside. Do have a good night. All the best.